Good morning and welcome here. I'm so excited as always. Today's topic is going to be stress. I know this is a very, I'd like to say popular, it's not really popular. Stress is not popular, but it's a question that I'm often getting. I see it in the Facebook groups and some of my clients struggle with, and it was a huge thing for myself in my life as well. Because why is it that some people get stressed in the situations and others don't? Have you ever had a co-worker, you both are in the same kind of situation? I was the one who was completely stressed out, and my co-worker was like calm and kind of said to us like, what's your big deal, kind of thing, attitude. So why is it that people see or perceive that differently? And how do you actually know that you're stressed? How do you know in your body what is happening for you? Okay, maybe your stress has been so chronic and has been there for so long that you're not even fully aware. Is it like that you have migraines, you don't sleep so well, your digestive system's playing up, your blood pressure is up, you're forgetting things, when you're walking into a room and you can't remember what it was. For me, it's like all these frantic kind of thoughts. But what is it for you? Really think about that. Okay, so there's quite many layers to actually dealing with breaking that pattern of chronic stress, and I want to cover a few. But first, I believe before we can tackle this, we need to find a way to calm down our nervous system. Okay, because that's just the key. Because different parts of the brain work when we are feeling stressed compared to when we can kind of make rational decisions, when we can be curious, and when we have the ability to make changes. So how do we actually calm down our nervous system in the first place? What have you got in the toolbox there? So some of the things that might work for you might be very different to what works for me, but we're going to have depending on where you're in the healing journey. But a lot of people like things like tapping, heavening technique, like tapping on your meridian points here, the heavening techniques, massaging your ears, anything that's kind of touching, especially around the face, because we've got the vagus nerve and things like that. Some people like getting massages from other people, swimming or exercising because it kind of helps us using up some of that adrenaline, dancing, rolling. People use Feldenkrais, and even the Alexander technique. Okay, and if that is something you're interested in, we have Jane. She's going to do a session with us for the Thriveroo Community. So I invite you to join us in the Thriveroo Community if that's something you're interested in. But there's so many different ways that you can use to help you kind of calm your nervous system just a little bit. And please share them down below, because other people can learn from you, and you can inspire each other and come up with ideas, brainstorming together. Like I said, some things work for a little while, and you might have used them for a year or 2 years, and all of a sudden they no longer work for you. Okay, then we need something new. But when we calm down our nervous system, we now have access to our neocortex. Okay, because when we're in that stress state, we're using the back of our head, more the cerebellum, and not the front part, where we can do that thinking and rationalizing and coming up with new options and being curious and have that explorative kind of mind. But how do we actually break that cycle? Okay, that's the real tricky bit, isn't it? Because I know that you've done enough. I'm assuming you've had some therapy and you learned some grounding tools and things like that. But breaking that cycle, breaking that pattern is very tricky. And the reason for this being so tricky is because I'm assuming if it's chronic stress, you've been doing this for a long time. Okay, yesterday you felt much the same as you do today. And it can almost predict that tomorrow is going to be much the same again. It's quite familiar. Even knowing you don't like that state, you don't like feeling that way, there's a certain level of comfort with that because it's familiar. You know there's backwards, you know there's in and out because you've done it for so many years, right? So this is almost like we don't have to use our thinking anymore, like with other activities, like with walking or driving a car. You know, once you've learned that activity, we can literally do it mindless. You know, our subconscious takes over. We can just drive the car. We don't actually have to think. And it's similar with that stress. We're so used to being that way that we no longer have to actually be consciously aware of it. We don't really think about that. It just happens, right? It just happens. That's why I asked, how do you know that you're stressed? How do you know that? So we want to bring some awareness there so we can shift, like using our frontal cortex, so we can explore how do we actually want to feel instead. Do you know? Because I know many of my clients, they're not actually that clear on that. They might know their feeling, they might want to have some more enthusiasm, some more joy, some more love, some more compassion and things in their life. They know the words, but they don't actually know what that felt sense would be, what that would look like in their day-to-day life. So we want to get really clear on that as well, okay? Because the stress circuits, when we're talking about neuro circuits in our brain, they're really like hardwired. I remember a previous video I did, it's like this is your 6-way highway there that is so regular. But when we're creating new pathways, when you want to think about how you want to feel instead tomorrow, that there is no circuits there. That's almost like you have to learn to drive a car. Remember that day when you first time you sat in the car, how uncomfortable that felt, and how much you had to think and concentrate to make that happen. You know, to change the gears and do all these things simultaneously. When we're trying to be a different person, when we're trying to feel a different way, when we're trying to get ourselves in a different kind of state, it is very similar. It is very uncomfortable. That is key. It is uncomfortable to change. And we need to expect that this will feel uncomfortable as well. And because it's that unpredictability there, it is still safe. We need to manually remind ourselves, yes, it feels uncomfortable, but it's safe for me to change. And not only do we need to know what we want instead, we can't just know the outcome. We actually really need to address the underlying issues here. Okay, what is underneath there? Underneath all these patterns, what are your thoughts, your beliefs, your stories about that? You know, the reason why I was really stressed in the same work situation as my co-workers is because the stories I was telling myself about the situation, what I made that mean about me doing a good job or not doing a good job. You know, that those kind of things, we need to address them, because what with our thoughts and our stories and the beliefs that we have, that kind of generates the feelings that we have, in this case stress. We don't want to have stress anymore, but if we create stress, it will act in certain ways. We have certain behaviors and we have certain patterns and we have a certain outcome. Okay, we can't just change the outcome and keep the same way of thinking. Does that make sense? So if you keep thinking the same way, we can't all of a sudden be enthusiastic and calm and grounded and centered and all this. We need to change the way we think and the beliefs that we have. And that is the tricky part. And that is where I highly encourage you to get some support. I don't know whether you work with a therapist, a psychologist, coach, or whoever you do, because we have some blind spots there. Some of the thoughts and beliefs that we have, we're not even fully aware of, that these are the ones. That's why we're feeling so stressed, okay? And sometimes having someone externally look into that and can really help. And maybe put them down, put some of your thoughts and stories that you tell yourself down below in the comments too, if you have some awareness there. Because for the longest time initially, I was completely oblivious of this. I was really in this default automated kind of state where I wasn't really thinking. It was just, I thought this was normal till I had professional support that was pointed out to me that, you know, other people think perhaps like this, or they see it from this perspective or from this angle, and that's really helped me. So I needed a lot of support there. Please don't hesitate to reach out for support there, because there is so much to this. Like, we need to really calm down that nervous system first, to help us to engage different parts of our brain so we can be more curious and more creative and and be open to new options there and trying things out. And we need to know that this trying new things out actually will feel really uncomfortable, but this is a safe uncomfortable. We're trying out something new, and that's the same as with thriving. As you keep thriving, this new way of being will become comfortable, and it will become your new default, but it takes time. So we need a lot of patience for with ourselves, a lot of kindness. You know, patience and kindness is always a great ingredients for any of our healing work there. And sorry about all these wobbles there. My cat is behind the screen and he makes everything wobble here. He wants to be part of it today. Pets are excellent at teaching us on how to be calm and just relax and stretch and sleep and do all these kind of things. So he's been a great guidance there as well. But so I hope that has been helpful for you. Please let me know down in the comments if you have any questions about this. This is very complex, like I said, to break that pattern. It takes a lot of our energy initially, but as we're getting used to it, it just becomes your new default pattern there. So thank you so much for being here, and as always, sending you lots and lots of love and rainbows to brighten up the tough times just a little. See ya, bye.